today we have a classic and gold course book to take a look. I'll see you after Vieta.
Okay, we're back, folks. I'm Walter. This is my partner, Bruno. So today we're going to talk about TOUCHSTONE. Right, Bruno? Very famous book, a classic one. I just want to say that this is also a suggestion from one of our viewers. And we are doing that. So if you have any books that you would like us to talk about, let us know. All right? You let us know in the comments below. Thank you. Bruno, I'm just gonna... Here's the book. All right. Bruno, looking at the layout, I'm just going to say that this is very similar to one of the books that we analyzed in the series. It's a household name too. Interchange.
It looks a bit like Interchange, yes.
Yes, it does kind of feel a little bit like Interchange, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, what do you think of the layout?
A little bit like World English as well. Yeah, especially because of the layout, the blank spaces so that students can take notes. Very well, like the headlines, so building language, grammar, building vocabulary. I'm not sure how clear this would be for students and teachers. For example, the difference between building language and building vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps this information is in the teacher's guide, which we don't have, right? But this differentiation, because this first exercise is the input moment of the lesson, right? Mm-hmm. It's where instead of a written text, it's well, actually there is a written text, right? So it's a listening with reading at the same time, right? Which is great for beginners. Yeah, so that they get the rhythm and they can read the words and see how the words are pronounced. I think this.
And then again, when you're doing something like that you're teaching something from, you're building things up. It's one more example of a material that is atomistic. We view language from like building these little pieces until you get to something greater, right? Do like the layout too. I like that things are big. Maybe I don't like the use of images in here as much, but I mean, this book's more affordable. I'm not sure about the prices, but I think it's more affordable. I think this is a newer version of TOUCHSTONE. I hadn't seen this one. Everything looks, right?
Yeah,
very sharp.
And it has that classic feel of a language course book, right? So if you're using this with adult learners, they're going to recognize the genre right from the start, right? So they're going to open the book and they will know, okay, this is an English book. So it might help lower anxiety and this affective filter so that they feel more comfortable, as in, oh, okay, these are charted waters. So I've seen this before.
Oh yeah, right? I'm gonna ask you to expand on something that you just said, the affective filter, if you don't mind, because that's Krashen, and it's Krashen. Yeah. It's very interesting.
According to Krashen, that there is between you and learning, there is this affective filter. Affect is connected to your feelings, right? And according to Krashen, if you feel negative feelings, for example, anxiety or fear, this filter will block most of the learning from happening. So the more students can feel comfortable and at ease, the lower this filter will be, and the easier it will be for them to learn. So something that I think it was Suggestopedia that did. Suggestopedia is a very funny teaching method, in my opinion.
I think it came up with the natural approach, which was Krashen's.
But the thing with Suggestopedia is that they played music. You would sit in very comfortable chairs in this feel good kind of hippie vibes, so that you lower the affective filter, and then language will just naturally flow in. It's quite an interesting approach.
It's just such an interesting method, right?
Yes.
It sounds
It
a
is.
bit crazy if you think about it, but it's just such an interesting method, don't you think?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah, just add some crystals and it'll be fine.
absolutely. Bruno, in regards to the approach here, I can see that, you see, we've talked about deductive and inductive in previous videos. I don't want to expand too much on that, but you're going to have the target language in this listening. It builds up, and then you are going to work on MPF. However, do you think that the book's going to cover MPF?
There isn't any kind of explanation there on how to use it, right? So there are lots of example sentences. It's only one focus. It's to and either, right? So there are many examples for to and either, but there's no grammar explanation. So the teacher could either choose to explain or help students through Socratic questioning, so that students can kind of investigate the examples, and then letter A is kind of an assessment moment to check if students got it right from this analysis.
If we look at exercise 1B, the one with the listening, we do have this. This is our concept for this language, right? Responses with to or either are used to do this, right? So you're agreeing with something. You know, folks, what it's used for. But what I wanted to say is that this might be the part in which people are focusing on the meaning and use of the language, and then from that from that part you move on, and you can work on pronunciation, you can work on form. That's the moment when you're going to choose to say, oh, this goes with negative, affirmative sentences, and so on, right? But I do think that you can use exercise 1B to link it to 2A so that you can focus on the meaning. And then again, if you do that, you make it more inductive. If you don't,
and there is a bit of corpora used there, right?
Yes.
The in conversation part. Yeah. So people actually say me either more often than me neither, which is quite an interesting data for students, right?
Very interesting, right? Using corpora.
I actually say me neither. To be honest.
I don't think I would say me either. But I think that's something about being a non-native, right? And by the way, it's perfectly fine. So why bother, right? Do you like the yeah, there's one thing that we didn't mention before we move on. What about practices?
I think that the first exercise, 1B, it's not listen and complete, right? 1B is listen, and now based on what you listened, complete the sentences below. These sentences are not in the listening, right? So they're new sentences. So you complete with what you think is true, and then you kind of look at more examples, and then you do it again, right? Now that you know how to. Oh my, this is test. Gente, que bacana. This is test.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that. So if we're using test, teach, test, then that makes a lot of sense, because that is already testing. If they're gonna, Bruno, you were so right. You're testing the students. Is this B1?
TOUCHSTONE level 2. So maybe there is a starter, and then level 1, and then level.
I'm thinking this is not A2. If you are gonna use exercise B as a test, because the way I was thinking was like, okay, this is restricted input, just like in the ARC framework from Scrivener, right? So I'm gonna expose you to the language, then I'm gonna focus on the language, which is basically, it goes like a PPP, feels like a PPP. But anyway, exposure, and then focus on the language, and then practice the language. So but
controlled practice, right?
That's controlled practice, and then you have a less controlled practice.
But freer, because it's to you, right? So there is a little bit of personalization there, right? So I'm allergic to nuts. And you're going to say, well, I'm not. I can't afford a new laptop, so I can't either. It's personalized.
Yeah.
Letter B is make the statements above true for you. So this is freer practice.
Personalization.
And letter A models the activity.
I like it. I do like it. I especially like the thing that we only found out later about the TTT there, the test teach test. Okay.
And I think this is a lesson, right? 1-2 is a very well-rounded lesson.
It does.
Yeah, I would stop there probably, and then letter number 3 for building vocabulary maybe another day.
One thing we didn't say. How do you feel about this book for novice teachers?
Well, I think it is teacher friendly because if you follow the exercises in order, right? So 1A, 1B, 2. Read the box. Now try letter A for number 2. I think it works. I think it's teacher friendly and it's easy to follow. You don't have to adapt this so that it works. Right? I think it's. I don't know how much space you have for adaptation here for an experienced teacher. I feel that it would be easier to follow the book as it is, and a bit more challenging to adapt. Because in TTT, if you adapt one of the stages, you break the framework. How do you feel?
For a novice teacher, if they're every time I think of a novice teacher, somebody who's just starting, planning the lessons, like the easier it is for them to follow the book and have a nice lesson, the more friendly that book is. And I think this is the case. However, in terms of understanding concepts of teaching, understanding frameworks, then using a TTT for a novice teacher, they might not really understand that rationale yet. They might end up just spoon feeding students because they like, what if my student can't do this exercise? And that's the test stage. So that's why we're not hoping that everybody's going to get everything right. So that's a part of the approach, and I like it. But I do think that the teacher that uses the book will actually, manage to teach a good lesson just using the book.
Well, as a novice teacher myself back then, I understood nothing. I would just do the activities in the book, give students feedback, and hopefully they learned. So, it's not, I don't think. I'm sure I was not aware of the reasons for PPP or aware of PPP for that matter. Just using the activities in the book and the ones I liked most.
To me, it's kind of a different take because I taken the CERTISO before I started teaching. So I would
look at you.
I would look at the books trying to make sense of it as an ESA, engage, study, activate, which is the framework proposed by Jeremy Harmer, right? So that's what would make sense to me. And then, of course, I learned about the PPP, kind of make some connections there. And that up until the moment when I learned about the TTT and its purpose, I don't think I would really understand what I was doing with this page that we had in there. I think it's a wrap. Yeah. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do it. And follow us on Instagram as well. It's right down below. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the material. And if you have any other suggestions for course books, leave it in the comments below. And we might be analyzing it soon. All right. Meanwhile,
this is a lot of fun, actually.
Yes.
Send us books.
Yes, I do. I love it too. And mind you, I think a lot of people actually enjoyed it too.
It's nice.
I think Felicio, one of our followers on Instagram, he really appreciates this series. Yeah. Abraço,
shout out.
And thank you. Well, we'll see you in the next ones. Meanwhile, there will be a new series of videos coming out. So even though we do plan to continue with this one going on. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, folks.
All right. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.